Goblins, goblins, and even more goblins. Our little green fellas, and oh boy, what a history they have. Tribalism, abuse. But let's see what the tale of the goblins will reveal to us, shall we? Because you know, even though they may be some of the first creatures you kill on your never-ending journey in RuneScape, they aren't as evil or bad as people make them out to be. What exactly makes a goblin? Is it their goblin mail armor? Or is it their very unique names? Or is it even the goblin potion that makes you wig out for a while and shapeshift into a goblin? Well, to answer that question, we need to go back in time. A few thousand years, in fact. Imagine a planet buzzing with life. Cool winds and marshes that spanned acres. Swamps as far as the eye could see. Weird pointy mushrooms and everything has a slight tinge of green. Sounds like a paradise, right? Almost like a holiday location for some people if you want a wet holiday, and, well, the goblins had no problem living here. I am, of course, talking about the planet of Ubiusk, the original homeworld of the goblins, though other races like hobgoblins, orcs, and ogres are also said to hail from here. This all changed when a big guy came to the planet, a big, high war god, you could say, the good old Bandos. Now, with a name like Big High War God, you can already tell when he discovered the planet, he probably wasn't too keen on the whole living peacefully vibe. So, you know, he done what he knew best. He forced them to adapt to his ideals of life and civilization, and before long, Bandos had an army of all races on this poor, swampy paradise. And paradise is a term I'm going to use loosely though, for reasons that will become very obvious very soon. The God Wars ravaged Gielinor, and of course Bandos threw his hat in the ring as well, sending swaves of our green friends alongside the hobgoblins and ogres to the planet to try and claim it for their big high war god. Though Bandos may have had numbers on his side, allegedly, he didn't win. Technically, no one won as they all got banished, but hey, Bandos didn't care. He was angry. Angry to not have been able to claim another planet for himself. And so, grown fat from power, he unleashed his rage throughout Ubiusk, and turned this once red and green swampy paradise into this. Grey and green landscapes as far as the eye can see. And not the nice and lush green, more like the acidic and it'll burn your skin if you touch it green. And here we are. You've been thrown into a war you didn't ask for, abandoned by your big high war god, and you're left here fending for yourself. So what's the next best course of action? Fight your neighbours? Well, the goblins tried that, and they didn't do too well. First they tried to attack the humans, and the humans just built walls. So yeah, sure kings and all, but a wall, it's too much. So what's the next best step? Fighting each other. The age-old tale that always ends so nicely. So I welcome you to the Battle of the Plain of Mud. It's a mouthful in itself, but the Battle of the Plain of Mud was a war that occurred in the 4th Age between the 11 goblin tribes. I'm probably gonna butcher trying to pronounce these, so give it a go yourself as well. We have the Dorgeshuun, the Dorgeshuun, the Rekishuun, the Dorgeshuun, Huzamo-Garb, Saragorgak, Ekelishuun, Idithum, Narogoshuun, Horogthagar, and the Yorkolagoch. And the Dorgeshuun didn't participate, but we'll cover that in the next chapter. Now that I've summoned all sorts of ancient Latin demons, why exactly did they start fighting? Well, as you can imagine, the landscape was left ravaged by the God Wars, so when the gods were banished, the goblins were lost. They very quickly began to starve, not knowing how to farm or procure food, and being unable to attack other races as they had built fortifications. So once a goblin was caught stealing a bread roll, that very quickly escalated to become a war for survival. 11 tribes all battled each other, and there were a lot of casualties, with the final battle happening in the Goblin Cave. Very aptly named. But you may be asking, hey, how come the goblins are still here then? Well, just like the Book of Mormon, a goblin named Hopespear described how he received a vision by Bandos, where the big high war god said, "Goblins are very mighty fighters, but you cannot drive yourselves to extinction, otherwise how would you fight?" Or something along those lines. It all gets lost in translation, but he went on to further say how he would send the goblins a commander, a promised commander to lead them to the glory that they deserve. It was this vision that when revealed to the goblin generals, they all agreed to lay down their arms and start working together, loosely, and build a temple to honour their agreement and lay down a permanent place to worship Bandos. And since that day, the goblins are kinda just there. They exist all around the world, scattered and not fully living the tribal life they once knew, though the clan banners are still up within the goblin cave. They survived, and they've even become formidable foes for some level 1 adventurers who aren't paying attention. But that doesn't go for all goblins. As many of you quest enthusiasts are probably waiting to hear, yes, I am talking about the Dorgeshuun tribe. A tribe of goblins that descended into the caves and refused to be cannon fodder for Bandos' onslaught of other gods. They built tunnel networks beneath the ground and even built a city named Dorgeshuun, though things were a bit bloody at first when the city was built. Dorgeshuun was ruled over by generals, and each general succeeded the last by defeating him in combat. Though the council attempted to describe how they no longer needed an army as they lived safely within the confines of the caves, and how the citizens wanted a republic that was ruled over by the council, you can probably imagine the generals weren't happy. General Bonehelm the most, and refusing to give up power, he started a civil war, one that caused bloodshed and chaos within the dark tunnels that the goblins knew as home. Though General Bonehelm may have set his sights a little bit too high, eventually being driven back and attempting to tunnel more into the rocks around his base, which only caused a lot of instability. And on a fateful day when his soldiers were retreating, one footstep too much and the walls came caving in, burying the general and his retreating army. And that was marked as the last time the Dorgeshuun had raised arms against each other. Very quickly though, they healed and focused on rebuilding, making Dorgeshuun prosperous, and even opening up a railway system with some dwarves that had found their tunnels when digging. So, all's good I guess. But let's have a look at what happens when we turn up into the picture. Obviously the first goblin quest we encounter is goblin diplomacy, but all you need to know about that is we help 2 generals solve their fashion problem. What colour should the armour be? Brown, obviously. So let's get into the Dorgeshuun Questline, being the only goblin quest series within the game, and this all starts with the Lost Tribe. Due to the crumbling foundations of Lumbridge Castle, a crack has appeared in the wall within the basement, and through said crack there's been reports of goblins lurking. It could easily be a nightmare situation granted the security risk, so Sigmund, a friend of Duke Horatio, tells us to investigate. After collecting some reports, we delve straight into the caves located through the crack in the wall, and we find a brooch. Going through the font of all knowledge, Reldo, he gives us a book that depicts goblin symbols, and upon flipping the pages we find the symbol, reading the words Dorgeshuun, Goblins of the Strong Spears. Going back to visit our 2 favourite generals, they teach us some goblin greetings, which we may as well try a diplomatic route after all. Not all goblins are evil. We head back to Lumbridge and we delve into the caves once again, and make contact with a goblin named Mistag, one of the Dorgeshuun. He explains to us how they're peaceful and the crack in the wall was just a mistake, so no harm, no foul. We're given the quick rundown of the goblins' history, so when we go back to the Duke to explain the situation, a worrying allegation is made. Silverware has been stolen, and the goblins are being blamed for it. Through some sneaky methods, we unlock Sigmund's chest and find some ham robes. And no, I'm not talking about Lady Gaga's dress, but these robes right here. So we tell the Duke about how Sigmund isn't the nice guy he's made out to be, and he's actually part of the Humans Against Monsters, and how the lost silverware was actually a ploy by him to blame the goblins, as it was right by the entrance of their base. The Duke, being a reasonable man, fires Sigmund, understandably, and gives us a peace treaty to take to the Goblins. Happily ever after, until we see a cutscene of Sigmund saying how the Goblins will be destroyed. Just roughly 1 year later, the story continues with death to the Dorgeshuun, where the dastardly Sigmund attempts to once again destroy our friendly big-eyed goblins. He really is like a Scooby-Doo villain at this point, but just a little bit more genocidal. We speak to Mistag and we're tasked with obtaining 2 sets of ham robes, and there's numerous ways we can get these. Stealing, murder, or just buying them. I wonder which one you guys would choose. Once we have the sets, we talk to Zanuck in the Lumbridge basement and give her a tour of the local area of Lumbridge, where we ourselves first stepped foot after completing Tutorial Island. How innocent and free of training agility and runecrafting we were back then. But once we're done here, we're told about a mark on Zanuck's forehead, which she received when doing Tears of Guthix, and it means that she's destined to do something great. Maybe that means she'll get 99 runecrafting by purely doing Tears of Guthix. Who knows? Once all the storytelling's done, we infiltrate the Ham headquarters and very quickly find out that something big is being planned. Though our general infiltration is successful, and we help Zanuck evade guards, we are eventually caught and knocked out. We wake up in a jail cell, and we find out that Zanuck was took outside. Knowing what this could mean, we reenact the prison break by picking the lock, and we quickly rush outside to find Zanuck, though she's dead. Though hope is not all lost, destiny is in play after all. We take her body to Juna, and we are instructed to collect 20 tears, restoring her to life and finding out what Ham's plans are. They're thinking of flooding the swamps, much like the old House of Castamere, if anyone's into the Game of Thrones. Knowing that the lives of countless goblins are in peril, we very quickly prepare for battle and rush over to a chicken farm, where the plans are being carried out. Delving down a trapdoor, we take on Sigmund and some guards, quickly eliminating them except Sigmund, who escapes with a ring of life. Reflecting on how close we were, we smash the drilling machine and leave, speaking to the Dorgeshuun leaders. The day saved, as per usual. I don't really have to make an intro for this quest. It's literally called Another Slice of Ham, and I think that's brilliant. It starts off pretty nicely, to be fair, with the goblins and dwarves building a railway between Keldagrim and Dorgeshuun, and it's here that an interesting development is made. You see, as they've been excavating, the remnants of old weapons and armour have been found, something from the tribe's history. We pass them over to Airtag, and then we move out with Zanuck, visiting a goblin scribe to ask about the symbols covering one of the maces, but unfortunately this doesn't help. So we once again have to visit our favourite generals. It's here we find out that Zanuck is most likely the chosen commander, the prophesized goblin that will lead the goblins to prosperity according to the visions of one goblin so many years ago. And the mace, imbued with power from Bandos. Being ambushed while on our journey, we defend the goblin village, but not before Zanuck is kidnapped by Sigmund again. So here we are again, time to make our way back to the caves to save Zanuck. And whilst we slowly walk to the Lumbridge swamps to save her, no big rush, it'd be a great time to drop a like and to subscribe to the channel. And when I said that Sigmund was a Scooby-Doo villain, he literally ties Zanuck to the train tracks between the two cities. We make our way down there and confront Sigmund, defeating him again only for him to get away once more, before we untie Zanuck and save her life. All in a day's work for us, realistically. Just under 14 years later, we have got the most recent quest, Land of the Goblins, which is a really good quest in my opinion. Starting out by speaking to Grubfoot, he tells us of his dreams. A dream of the lands of Ubiusk, where all the goblin tribes live in peace on fertile and lush lands. He strongly believes that Zanuck is the chosen commander, before telling us of a secret temple dedicated to Bandos. We quickly make our way to the Goblin Cave, aptly named because it's a cave full of goblins. But we're not allowed entry into the temple because we're human. And this is the part where we make a goblin potion and drink that to shapeshift into a goblin, allowing us to bypass the guards and gain entry. Though that does come with some restrictions. You'll have to say goodbye to wearing your max gear, enduring the sunlight, or even entering combat, as all of these things will reverse the transformation. Once we're in the temple though, we speak to High Priest Bighead. Goblins really do have some colourful names, and we're told how Zanek's been imprisoned for her anti-theistic views. Utilising some dye, we mimic the armour of the tribe that have imprisoned her and reach Zanek, handing her a Dorgeshuun teleport orb so she can escape. We go back and give the priest the old rhetoric on Bandos being high and mighty, how goblins must murder everyone, etc, etc, before he tells us about Ubiusk. Though Big Head doesn't know where it is, we're told that his predecessor Snothead must have it. I guess he really lost the name lottery on that one. So we go ahead and pickpocket the heads of the 6 tribes within the cave, so we can enter the room where the high priests are buried. It's in this room we can speak to their spirits. And when I say speak, we do speak the language that old goblins understand: violence. As soon as we enter, Snothead rises from his grave and begins to attack us, before we go down a laundry list of predecessors such as Snail Feet, Moss Chin, Red Eyes, and Strongbones. Something that's worth noting is that each predecessor speaks slightly better and more clearly than the current, so yeah. Well, when we defeat Strongbones, he explains that Ubiusk is a different plane and not actually on Gielinor, which surely must be difficult to reach. Sounds like it might be, but thankfully not for the goblins. When we return to Dorgeshuun, we tell Oldak what we have learned, and he takes us to a fungus ring that's recently been found. We solve a small power relay puzzle, and then we step into the ring of mushrooms and we're transported into Ubiusk. Expecting our eyes to open and see lush lands, we instead see a barren landscape with waters that seem polluted. Not quite the promised homeland, is it? We help Zanek open a strange box before she gets sucked into it, and that's it. That's where the story ends. We leave Ubiusk with one less Zanek, and though we can revisit using the fairy ring system, that is where the story ends in Old School, and all we can do is wait to see if Zanek returns. So what exactly does the future hold for Zanek, and not only the Dorgeshuun, but the goblin race in general? We can take a look at RuneScape 3 for this, as the questline has 2 more further quests: the Chosen Commander and the Mighty Fall. While I won't go into specifics of the quests as they may not even be backported, I'll cover the Chosen Commander briefly. We've had no official confirmation if we're even getting an original sequel or not, but it will be interesting to see what they come up with either way. The Chosen Commander sees the return of Zanek, and an explanation of what exactly happened when she was sucked into the box. It is in fact a type of teleportation device that had took her to Bandos' throne room, where she had to escape before making her way back to us. Thankfully, she appears in due time, as Ham decides to attack Dorgeshuun through poisoning the food supply, which is just cowardly. Further on in the quest, we see the demise of Sigmund, finally, and how a obelisk is uncovered within Dorgeshuun that bear the markings of Bandos, telling us how he is furious at the Dorgeshuun for going into the caves and abandoning his army during the God Wars. The Mighty Fall sees the other remnants of Bandos' army, like General Garador, marching upon Dorgeshuun, but that's all I'll say about that quest. So I've had to add this bit in post as I listened to the Discord Mod Talks lore Q&A with Mod, Ed, Blossom and Errol, and someone had asked about Zanek and her future within Old School. We pretty much got confirmation that when the Chosen Commander was polled, it had a pretty strong reception to be a welcome backport, and though work hasn't begun on the quest, it'll more than likely be the way the Dorgeshuun Questline ends for us as well. Which makes sense, since the Mighty Fall only happens once Bandos dies in RuneScape 3, and we have been repeatedly told that we will not be seeing the gods at all within Old School RuneScape. But hey, it'll be interesting to see what differences they add to the Chosen Commander, if any. I've got my faith in Jagex. Let me know what you guys think about the questline down below. Do you want to see it continued? What would you want to happen with the next quest or two? Considering it's been left on a cliffhanger, quite literally anything could happen. So it'll be interesting to see what you think. But as always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.